movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 125. Come on, there we go. Weird technical issues. My mouse doesn't want to cooperate, but we're back, and I'm excited for tonight's topic. In my eyes, Godzilla vs. Kong, I think, has learned a lesson from Godzilla King of the Monsters in terms of how to market a movie. King of the Monsters advertised way too early and showed way too much, whereas King of the Monsters, spoiler alert, there's actually a third monster that doesn't show up in any of the trailers. I applaud them for that. Often the case, though, marketing can hurt a movie. That's what we're going to talk about today. Worst movie marketing, either mistakes, fails, marketing campaigns as an entirety. So there's a lot more examples than you might think. But before we get into that, Josh, how you doing tonight? How's your finger?
Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, these fingers are fine. This one is missing a piece. So I work in a kitchen, and I was chopping some green onions, and I got a little bit more than just a green onion.
A little bit of nowadays a red onion.
Yes. But like the knife was so sharp, it was like such a clean cut, like nothing mattered. It bled for, I think we were finally able to stop it at 45 minutes at the ER. But yeah, it was tough. But.
So besides whatever was on in the TV and the ER, you watching anything good?
Which, man, they must have known I was coming, because the first How to Train Your Dragon was on.
Of course it was. I was like, of course it was. That's awesome. Of course it was.
Have I watched anything this week? No, I don't think so. Some YouTube baby, I think, but that's about it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a pretty lame week.
It's all right. I'll make up for both of us. It's been a very busy week for me in terms of reading and watching. So doing my Mortal Kombat homework, because I'm absolutely a noob for Mortal Kombat stuff. I watched the animated, I think it's I forget what it's called, Mortal Kombat Legacy, maybe Scorpion's Revenge, the animated movie. The animated movie from a few years back. I was on HBO Max. It's really not my thing. Like, I get that this movie's all about the fatalities and you can get as violent as you want in an animated form, but like pausing the movie for like 5 to 10 seconds just to get a super, super slow-mo, just like how it is in the games, really interrupts the narrative, but also it's just not my thing. It was fine. It's not the worst animated movie I've seen from Warner Brothers, Batman Hush, but it wasn't that great. I think it's a lot like the original Mortal Kombat movie. Like, if you know the material, you'll have a really good time with it. I think it's kind of like Batman versus Ninja Turtles. If you grow up with that material, you're really going to like it. If you didn't, it might not be your thing. It's not a bad movie, it just was not my thing. Heather and I also watched Jack Black's Goosebumps.
Okay.
It's been on my list for a while. I heard good things about it, and I actually really, really liked it. It was pretty good. There's a couple lines that I actually was just like, that's pretty clever writing, and I've made it known quite a few times on this podcast, my feelings on Jack Black. I will not be watching the second one, though, because he's not in it. Like, I've already looked ahead to see who's in the second one, and like nobody came back for the second one, and they wonder why it had such a big drop off box office wise. But yeah, the first one has some really, really clever dialogue. I didn't grow up reading the Ghostbusters, the Goosebumps series too much. So like I was kind of familiar with some of the monsters, but overall, I really wasn't too familiar. As a movie, though, it still stands up pretty well. There's a couple really good lines in there. There's something about, they do that cliche new kid in town line, but the kid and the mom are joking about, like, well, where would you wanted me to take the job? There's a nice offering in Hawaii I could have taken, maybe down in Detroit. And I'm just like, moving on. Are we allowed to joke about Detroit in a kid's movie? But okay.
No.
But more importantly, it's not what I'm watching. It's what I read. So, I have the digital copy of Nightwing 78, the one that like Tom Taylor and crew started. It's basically from scratch. I have the digital copy of that, but I've been on the hunt for the paper version because I like physical copies, and it's been sold out everywhere, which is it's a good thing. It means other people are enjoying the issue as well. But I stopped by my favorite comic book store, and I'm just browsing the DC Comics section, and what do I find in the U section that I didn't even know existed? But a 6-issue Uncharted series, written by the guy that's currently writing The Flash in DC Rebirth, Josh Williamson.
No way.
Who also
That's
wrote
crazy.
Batman, The Flash, The Button story that I talk about a few times on the podcast. I was just I didn't know this existed. Here's $15. This is mine now. And I read it that night, and it's the game. It's basically the first time Nate meets Chloe. And it's actually really, really good. I can imagine why it's not on DC Universe, because it's a third-party game. I already looked. It's the only volume that ever existed. But yeah, there's an Uncharted comic that has Nate, Sully, the first time he meets Chloe. It's basically before the first one, and I think it's even before Golden Abyss, the PSP game. But yeah, it's just like
crazy.
Me, the completionist, I have to ingest everything. Didn't even know this existed, so I see just Uncharted on the side of a comic, and I'm just like, that's not what I think it's gonna be.
Yeah,
and
that's
was. And it was just like, oh, this is by a writer that I actually recognize and really enjoy. So it's just like, yes, and I really dug it. Now I'm reading, I think, Nightwing Volume 7 in Rebirth, right before you get shot in the head. So, right when I checked out.
Oh, nice. Good for you, man. I need to catch up on Invincible. Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
I think I have like episode or 2 to watch. I don't remember.
I think you're up to 3 now.
Well, we have 4 episodes total.
Okay.
Last time I looked, I don't know. I've forgotten when the episodes drop, so I'm kind of at a loss. But I mean, if I'm only 2 episodes behind, that's like.
That's pretty good for
each,
you.
Maybe, yeah, like that's pretty good.
Are they
Normally,
hour or half hour?
I think they're about 30 to 45.
Okay,
so
okay.
Like a fairly average length. I mean, they're pretty solid in my opinion. But
oh yeah, you know the material better.
See, here's the thing though. This is what's really been making me laugh is I went to the comment section on Amazon. Of like, well, because they have like, this is the series, and like people can put in comments below and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that were like, I read this series and this wasn't in it. All this fourth wave feminism. I was like, bro, literally, that was in the what are you talking about? Get out of here. You crazy.
Like as far as I have seen, it's a pretty direct adaptation, like art style, story. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm just like, everything I've seen and my limited knowledge of the comic from you and just from general research, I'm like, this seems pretty spot on. Like, what are you complaining about? I'll give credit. Amazon, between this and The Boys, is making their mark in the superhero genre in terms of also accuracy and quality of like, they're going, we don't care if it's on the page or not. We're doing it. And they're going balls to the wall with it, which I kind of really appreciate.
Oh, absolutely. Basically, when it comes to Invincible, the show, if you can finish episode 1 and you're not immediately hooked, that's okay. I understand. But you probably don't like superheroes or superhero stories then.
Oh, I just can't stand that J.K. Simmons guy. Anything that he's in, I just cannot watch. Whiplash, terrible movie. Terrible. He's the worst J. Jonah Jameson. He's the worst superhero casting of all time. I don't understand the hype. It's not like he's one of the greatest actors alive. No.
Whatever. No, but like, just story-wise, if you can if you get to the end of episode 1 and you don't want to continue, like, I'd quite, at least for like our friendship, I would deeply question like your love for comic book stories, because jeez.
No, I feel like I would like it. It's just a matter of, getting around to it. Just add it to the list of everything else.
What, you got a lot to watch these days or something? What's wrong with you?
Dude, I'm still behind. I still haven't finished the first season of Creepshow on Shudder, and that's been like top of my. I need to finish this at some point. I've got that, and then I still going to do Smallville at some point. Superman and Lois, I've heard is good, and I've watched the first few episodes, and I like that. Stop putting stuff on streaming services, guys. We're almost done with COVID. We're good on content. Said no one ever. It's just it's that tough balance of I want all the stuff. I'm stressed from having so much stuff I need to watch.
Yes, absolutely. What was it? I think it was yesterday. I was having a discussion about streaming services with somebody of like how it's kind of ruined us in a way, because like when it comes to like Disney shows and they're doing an episode a week,
which I prefer.
Oh, I do too. But they're like, yeah, but like it's annoying for me because we've been so spoiled. I can just watch the whole series in one go.
Oh, you mean like TV used to be?
Like, yeah, that's exactly. I was like, so did you not watch cartoons as a kid, or?
Yeah, like that's. Yeah, like I don't know. It builds up your audience better over time if you do that. Yeah.
All right, bud. Talk about an audience.
Yeah, this is. File this one under. I genuinely didn't think this was ever going to happen just because we've been moving at a snail's pace on this project. And we're talking, of course, about Indiana Jones 5, which is more or less in pre-production now, as they've gotten both some actors attached to it, as well as the man, the myth, the legend, John Williams. Now, I'll be the first to admit I'm a little worried. Like, I'm excited that John Williams is coming back, but I'm a little nervous because he is over 90, as I'm fading to Josh's reaction now.
You don't tell me when you do these things. Like, you just put stupid hats on, and I'm like, well, I can't be mad because it fits the conversation.
So, I had an Indiana Jones hat, like a proper one from Disney World, but it doesn't fit my big old dome anymore. So this is my grandpa's hat because he was just a styling guy. I'm a little worried that we're getting John Williams back, like not in the sense of quality. John Williams is synonymous with Indiana Jones. We've had Star Wars movies without John Williams. We've never had a Indiana Jones movie without him. That being said, he is 90. He's over 90. Like, are we really going to work this poor man to death with Indiana Jones movies? So he's coming back to score the music. Harrison Ford, we already knew was coming back. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which, unfortunately, the only thing I've actually seen her in or heard her in is Solo. Like, I know she's really well known for Fleabag, but I haven't seen that. Just add it to the ever-growing list of things that I haven't seen yet. But she's a really big name, both from a acting standpoint, but also from a behind-the-scenes standpoint. Like, I think she was one of the creative people on Fleabag. I think, like, a writer or producer or something. So she's a big up-and-coming name. I'm indifferent to it, just because I don't know her that well. The key for me is what Harrison Ford shows up for this movie. Are we going to have, admittedly, one of the better ones in recent memory with him in Force Awakens, when he actually was clearly trying because he thought it would be his last turn as Han? Or are we going to have Bruce Willis Han Solo, Harrison Ford, of just, I don't care, I just want to get paid? Which, admittedly, he's never phoned it in for Indiana Jones. Even as bad as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was, he's still giving everything he had to that. And unpopular opinion, I don't think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is all that bad until about the halfway point once they start going all in with the alien stuff. Like, the whole, I'm old now, and like, oh, I thought that jump was closer. Like, that's funny. That worked. It's the whole, these are alien skulls are kind of where you lost me. However, I'm still cautiously optimistic about this movie because it's James Mangold directing this. For those that don't know, James Mangold did Walk the Line, Logan. He most recently did Ford v Ferrari. This guy is a talented director. So if anybody can make this work, it's probably going to be him. And here's where I really lose some people. At the current stage of their careers, I think Indiana Jones is in better hands with James Mangold than it would be with Steven Spielberg. I like Spielberg, but he's not the name that he used to be. Like, I think Ready Player One is fine, but could it have been better with a different director? Absolutely. That's kind of why I have more faith with Mangold in this situation. But Josh, do you see supposedly that Indiana Jones 5 is going into production sometime soon? Do you actually believe that it's coming out next year with its scheduled July release date? Do you like the casting? We haven't talked about Indy 5 in a while.
Yeah, we don't talk. Well, maybe because there wasn't really a lot of news to talk about.
Other than the game.
Yeah, I share your concern with Williams coming back. I don't think Harris, like you said, I don't think Harris is gonna phone it in. It's Indy. I mean, he might have went hard on Crystal Skull because he might have thought it would be the last time to pass off the torch, but who knows? Maybe they'll successfully do that this time. So, but geez, I forgot her name, but the lady from Fleabag.
Yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Bro, she is great.
Have you seen Fleabag?
I've watched the entire.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, cool. So you have more of a reference than I do.
Yeah, she's great. Also, shout out to Fleabag. It's a fantastic show. I think when I finished it, I told you needed to watch it.
Is Andrew Scott on that one? Moriarty?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes. Oh my goodness, and he's great on it too. He's like.
It's Andrew Scott, of course, he's great.
But it's such a different character from Moriarty.
Words.
Moriarty.
And an anemone.
That guy from Sherlock Holmes. But it's such a different character that it almost throws you off at first. Regardless, all right, confession time.
Uh-oh.
Crystal Skull was my first Indiana Jones movie.
It was mine in theaters.
It was mine, period.
Really?
I had never seen an Indiana Jones movie before that. So, for me, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I understood the general idea because of Indiana Jones just from pop culture, but so when they were aliens, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Whatever. I mean,
That's
it could
not
be
bad.
worse.
That's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, even stuff like the giant ants was genuinely terrifying because I didn't know stuff like that could exist in this series and stuff like that. So it was. I guess I've never understood the hate of Crystal Skull.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm excited. Sure, why not? We needed what you and I have been saying. We need a new treasure hunting adventure movie for a while. So
yes. Now, do you actually think it'll come out next year?
Yeah, I think I'm so used to giving question marks on the ends of statements now that I was like, hey, yeah, this will come out in 2 months, and then it gets moved back a year.
Well, I think things are slowly kind of getting back to things are getting into production now. I had to do a little research on this one because I made this a while ago. That's how long this has been in production for. But I did a video way back. I'll put a little card here to link you guys to it. But there's 5 things in particular. Any one of these I'd be fine with for the next Indiana Jones. But these are the 5 things, narratively or treasure hunt-wise, that I would like Indy to try and find. I want him to find King Solomon's Mines. 1, because the librarian already basically stole a lot of its inspiration from Indiana Jones, so you should steal it back. King Solomon's Mines is a pretty well-known treasure hunt story. Or Pandora's Box. I'm actually amazed that they have not tried this sooner, because that sounds like an Indiana Jones thing right off the bat of just this mythical object that unleashes everything. Plus, I like it better when Indy has to find something that could be used as a weapon, and it's a race against time to try and stop whatever enemy it is. Usually the Nazis, the best stories are the Nazis at least, and Pandora's Box obviously can be used as a weapon. Next, Atlantis. Come on now. Indiana Jones trying to find Atlantis. That just writes itself, although it might skew a little too close to National Treasure 2 Book of Secrets territory, in which case finding lost civilizations, etc., etc. Then my last two, Indiana Jones to me works best when he's trying to find biblical objects. So, again, bring it back to the weapon. What happens if Indiana Jones is tasked trying to find the horn of Joshua, the horn that brought down the walls of Jericho? Of blow this and your enemy's fortresses come right down, or something like that. So obviously he's looking for it, and the Nazis would be looking for it. However, the number one thing that I want more than any other thing for Indiana Jones to try and track down is Excalibur.
Yeah.
Come on. And maybe the reason he's looking for it is, whosoever finds this sword shall rule over all of Europe. And why would the Nazis be interested in that at all?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I need Indy to fight with Excalibur. That's a little too fan fiction here. But looking for some mythological weapon, that is right up Indy Avenue. And come on, man, just say it. Indiana Jones and Excalibur, that sounds too good to be true to me. Josh, if you're making Indy 5, what's he on the hunt for?
I mean, any of those sound about right. Question for you.
Answer, maybe.
I'm trying to remember, but there was a treasure hunt movie about Pandora's box, wasn't there?
It's probably one of the Librarian movies.
I almost want to say it was one of the Mummies, but
no.
That doesn't sound right.
The first one, he's looking for the Book of the Dead. The second one, they're trying to stop it's the Book of Life or something.
Yeah.
And then the third one's Dragon Emperor. But yeah, I feel like Pandora's box is probably from something.
I feel like it's been done in the past 15 years, and I don't remember. I have a whole scene in my head, about Pandora's box, and like a girl reaching into a pool where it's been hidden or something. I can't remember what movie it's from. I don't think it's a Librarian movie, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But yeah, any of those sounds great. I mean, it'd be cool to. I feel like El Dorado is.
That's a good one.
But I feel like
that's 2 National Treasure 2. That one's that's exactly what they were looking for.
That's the go-to for treasure movies. Let's go. We're gonna go find El Dorado. I mean,
but spoiler alert, people. El Dorado is not a city. It's a golden idol that's cursed. Please do that.
Okay, Uncharted 1. Anyway, but I was gonna say that El Dorado, but Uncharted at least did something different with it. It wasn't we found the city. It was, we found El Dorado, but we also found out it's a cursed idol and it turns people into vampires. That's cool. That's really cool. Maybe, and I wouldn't mind seeing Indy do something like that. Maybe with.
So what we need is, sticking with the Uncharted thing, we need Indy basically to be the new Sully. Yeah,
why not? And so the big question here is, do you think we're going to actually introduce a character in the 5th one to kind of take over from Indy? Or are we just going to let Indy do his thing and then try to wave him off into the sunset?
I don't know, because they tried to do the passing of the torch thing in the last one with Shia LaBeouf, so I don't see them trying to do it again. I trust them to do it more with the directors this time around. That being said, I feel like they got burned. We still don't think Shia LaBeouf was miscast. It was the story involved with it, and the character of Mutt was not that great, but I think Shia could have carried the franchise. I really do, had he, not gotten that car accident. But
yeah,
I don't know if they'll go full on pass the torch. I just want them to end this properly. However, since it's James Mangold, I can't shake the thinking that this will be basically Logan, except with Indiana Jones, which I'm also fine with that too.
Yeah. No, yeah. Any chance to finally say goodbye to these characters is I think a good opportunity. Like especially like when it's people that are as iconic as like Logan or Indiana Jones. I think you got to give people an actual opportunity to say goodbye.
Now, this is a news topic that when I first saw it, I was very, very shocked by. But the more I think about it, the more it really makes sense, and I completely understand where Sony is coming from in this, and I also understand where Netflix is coming from. So what's happening is Netflix and Sony have made a deal that now basically after theatrical releases, starting in 2022, all Sony movies will be moved to Netflix for 18 months after their theatrical window. So that would be Uncharted, Morbius, any theatrical release. I also think it's any Sony movie, period, will be moving to Netflix, if I recall correctly, for the next couple years. This is a good move because Sony is the only major movie studio that does not have their own streaming service of some kind attached to it. Like Fox, more or less, has Hulu because their Disney overlords have Hulu. Warner Brothers has HBO Max. Paramount's got Paramount Plus. There's all these various streaming services. Sony, I don't think they ever wanted to get into that game. So they're just like, you know what? We're just gonna try and figure out a deal that works best for us. So I think this benefits all parties involved. Again, It comes back to what we talk about almost every week. Where is Netflix getting the money for this? Because this is valued at $1 billion, I've heard.
Yeah, I don't know how all of this works. I do wonder if in some cases they don't necessarily have to buy the license. The license, like the other companies would pay them to allow, you know what I mean, to allow those movies to be on their service. I mean, because at this point they kind of could be like, we are that big, we're that big of a company. If you allow if you pay us for your movie to be on our service, this is how many users you'll see, blah blah blah. So maybe, maybe that's something. But this is a good move, I think, for Sony, especially, and for Netflix. I mean, I think between the Knives Out stuff from last week and Sony on this week, Netflix is making some moves, bro. They are doing what they can to survive here.
Yeah, so this is everything. So our immediate thought is obviously Spider-Man, but this is Spider-Man, Jumanji, something we'll talk about later, but Ghostbusters. There's a lot of big names that are attached to this. Now, they haven't openly stated this, but it's something interesting to think about, and I'll float it over to you, Josh. Do you think they will do movies besides theatrical releases? Do you think Sony will be like, hey, we've got this movie that we're not overly confident about in terms of the theatrical experience. Do you think, hey, maybe for $200 million, you guys would like to take this off our hands and you can have first dibs on it if you would like? Do you see that happening at all?
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. I mean, if anything, Netflix has I think this comes back to Netflix has a guaranteed subscriber base, and they can kind of, for the most, they've been around long enough to be like, look, man, you put your movie on our service, we can guarantee this many eyeballs on it for this amount of time. You know what I mean? So it would be interesting to say the least. I think, I don't see us really any negative outside of we don't know where they're getting this money. But then again, what was it? Arby's bought, Buffalo Wild Wings several years ago, and everyone was like, "Yeah, Arby's owns Buffalo Wild Wings." That's
interesting. That's weird.
The whole meme at the time was like, "Where did Arby's get this money? What is this?" So, yeah.
Interesting. Now, on the flip side of this, Somebody that's been in the streaming game for better or for worse has been Warner Brothers and HBO Max. However, they got themselves into some rather hot water with the questionable decision, we'll put it that way, to put all their stuff that's coming out in theaters this year also on HBO Max the same day. However, it seems like when this year is done, they're going to be reversing that decision. So the head of HBO Max more or less came out and said that come 2022, we will be going back to theatrical releases only. This should come as a shock to no one because there was a big, huge controversy, and a lot of directors were real pissed when this move happened. And also, I'd be very curious to see the analytics of HBO Max in terms of box office revenue compared to streaming revenue. Like, Zack Snyder's Justice League has done fairly well for them, but, like, add on top of that Godzilla vs. Kong, which has done incredibly well for them. Wonder Woman 1984, which has done incredibly well for them. I'm assuming Mortal Kombat will also do pretty well for them. This is but isn't surprising. I think we may have talked about a while back that we think that they're probably going to hold on to that theory of thinking of just, we need to do both day and date releases for free. I think it's kind of a good thing that they're kind of backing down on this at least a little bit. I still think they will shrink the theatrical window like a lot of other streaming services are, like Paramount Plus. I think from the day of release to when it shows up to on streaming services will be 45 days. I could see a similar model being followed there.
Yeah, I do too. Wouldn't be surprised at all. I think at the end of the day, you and I were wondering when initially they were like, "Hey, that phone is going off." Oh, okay. Well, cool. All right. That's all that matters, then I guess. Um, I think. Hold on. I gotta recollect my thought now. Whenever they initially were like, "Hey, like we're gonna show them at the same time," blah blah blah, and there was this huge backlash because all these other companies involved, it directly affected the money that was going in their pocket. So it was like, "Hey, you can't really do that." And then even then, you and I were hardcore questioning. I was like, if this is a thing going forward, I don't see Warner Brothers, getting out of it without a lawsuit or two. Which I didn't.
Yes, they
Was
did
it
get
New
sued.
Line?
I think, New Line or Legendary, I think did
Yeah,
countersue them. I
yeah. I don't
believe.
know. I don't know how that's gone, or I haven't seen any result from that. But yeah, it's just interesting, to say the least. They're going to say it's because the pandemic has calmed down and they don't feel that the necessity to do it this way. But
Ye-
I would feel that it's really more of like, hey, we didn't think this through.
Yeah. We didn't really want to piss off Christopher Nolan and lose him forever. We're still trying to mend our relationship with Denis Villeneuve, the guy doing Dune. Because there's reports now that Dune may be a theatrical only experience because Dune really should be a theatrical only experience if you want that to be a franchise. So I get where they're coming from in that sense of,
Hmm.
we done goofed. Maybe we should put this in theaters. But we bring this up because that means if you want to watch The Batman next year or Aquaman or Black Adam, you're gonna have to see that in the theaters, which is a good thing because 2022 is going to be the year of DC. Well, actually, 2022 in general is going to be a big comic book year. We've got 4 DC movies alone. I think we've got 3 or 4 Marvel movies just because everything's been backlogged for so long. It's just going to be,
Yeah.
we're taking a sledgehammer to the dam and everything's going to come flooding out. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I don't know if we have talked about it, but not recently. What do you think, since they're focusing on theatrical releases, is there any titles that they've announced that you can see not being a theatrical experience, but just to HBO Max?
trying to think of not Disney movies.
Mm.
um, I can't. Maybe Mortal Kombat. No,
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 because
no,
that's already
no.
coming out like
Yeah.
next Friday.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think
I mean, like in
if
2022 movies that they've
yeah.
got coming out.
Jeez, I can't even. Off the top of my head, I'm not.
I think
Not.
I don't
I
know if
mean,
it. I don't think
because
it's
DC
2022.
movies.
I think they may have said the Batgirl and Blue Beetle they're kind of leaning towards
Yeah.
being HBO Max movies, which I mean I'm fine either way. Um, both of those titles I can absolutely see being theatrical experiences, but I also don't know if they're coming out next year. I feel like HBO Max either doesn't advertise it or we just don't follow it as much. Like, we know the current status of like every Disney Plus Marvel show. We know She-Hulk's filming right now. We know Miss Marvel's filming right now. Falcon Winter Soldier we're in the middle of it right now. Hawkeye's done filming. Like, we know all that. HBO Max stuff, I follow Titans. I don't know if they're filming or not right now. I don't know when that's coming out. Season 4 of Young Justice, I don't know. Like, I would like more transparency, but also, to be fair to HBO Max, it's not just their issue. Heather and one of her friends were asking me just the other day, hey, have we gotten any updates whatsoever on Stranger Things Season 4? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. The problem is with these streaming services that drop everything at once, it's here it is, and then it's gone for the next couple of years while they ramp up production on the next one. Like The Witcher just finished filming a few weeks ago. That's gonna be the last we hear about it until a trailer a few months down the road. Like I would like to kind of be kept in the loop like we are with the movies in terms of, all right, here's when things are starting and here's when things enter production. Maybe that's just me, but I would like to kind of be in the loop more with streaming stuff.
Yeah, it would be really nice and it would add to some hype for us, but at the same, and I guess I'll take a nod to conversation we had a bit ago. Are we owed that information?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
It's nice.
like,
We don't need it, but
yeah,
it'd be appreciated.
yeah, it would be as fans like it'd be really nice for you to give us something to look forward to. Maybe like, hey, we just finished filming. Hey, I don't know. I mean, which is like why I think I like that Witcher was like, hey, we're done filming. I was like, okay, cool. Then so a few months from now I can expect a trailer or something like that, so I can start getting excited for the show again.
Makes sense. So, we often sometimes will say that HBO and Warner Bros. Like to milk the crap out of their DC characters. Well, at least they don't milk their franchise nearly as much as Paramount has been, and more specifically Paramount Plus, has just been milking the ever-living crap out of Star Trek. Basically, if you have Paramount Plus, you either watch CBS shows or you like Star Trek. That's about it. And it seems like we're not done with Star Trek as I'm so used to calling it CBS All Access. Paramount Plus has announced a new Star Trek movie coming in 2023. Now, it doesn't seem incredibly likely and incredibly doubtful, actually, that this will be a continuation of the Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana, Zachary Quinto era, which is disappointing because I really, really like that. And if memory serves, they are the most financially successful Star Trek movies. Granted, they were also the most expensive Star Trek movies, but they brought in a new generation. The next generation, if you will. But oh my gosh, Paramount knows that they don't really have a lot of assets currently. They've got like Top Gun and Mission Impossible, but like they've got Star Trek. So they're milking the crap out of that with like Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, this, that, and the other thing. I'm just like, calm yourselves, guys. Like, I'm not even a Trekkie, but even if I was, I'd feel massive burnout right now. That being said, I'll at least be curious to see what direction they go. I know Trekkies did not like the Abrams movies. Maybe it's because they were fun and they were good movies back to back to back, which is not something you could say about the original movies.
No.
I like all three of them. unpopular opinion, Into Darkness is actually my favorite because I think Benedict Cumberbatch was a fantastic villain. He wasn't the best adaptation of Khan, but he was a great villain nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
So I am sad that we're not getting a continuation, is what it seems like at least. But I also understand because everyone in those Star Trek movies is a much bigger name now. Good luck affording Chris Pine. Good luck affording Zoe Saldana. There's even reports before COVID that for Star Trek 4, they wanted to bring back Chris Hemsworth as Kirk's father. And I'm going, there is no way you can afford Chris Hemsworth right now if you're trying to reduce the budget. Like, Star Trek Beyond had the smallest budget of all three of the newer movies, and that was still a pretty expensive movie. Josh, would you have liked to have seen a continuation? Are you fine with a reboot? If it does get rebooted, what kind of direction do you hope to see with Star Trek?
So I like good sci-fi films, so I'm a Star Wars fan. Anyway,
for those in the comments, Josh said it, not me. But I agree.
But yeah, it's just I've never been like those. The Abrams movies are cool, but like I've never been a Trekkie. I don't really care. I do kind of see it as that series that Paramount keeps bringing back for no other reason but to make money. It's kind of like how Sony how Spider-Man was with Sony for a bit there.
Still is.
Yeah.
Well, now they got Jumanji to help lighten the load, but
it'd be really, really funny if they start bringing back really, really old projects. Like, just keep doing this reboot thing. That's fine, but like, do like stuff that doesn't make sense for it to be on Paramount Plus, like Bible Man. Bible Man was
who owns the right
Paramount.
to Bible Man? Can we get a Zack Snyder reboot of Bible Man? And you shall.
Oh no!
He just goes all Samuel L. Jackson, and you will know my name is the Lord when I strike my furious vengeance upon thee. And he just mows fools down with his yellow lightsaber. I kind of would be all for that.
There's a part of me that really, really wants to see what Bible Man would look like in today's society, because it's like. Our culture in general has changed significantly since Bible Man was a thing. So...
Okay. Joking aside, I didn't really pay attention to this too much as a kid, and I've watched people on YouTube spoof and make fun of Bible Man. Bible Man actually had some pretty decent visual effects for its time and for its budget. Mm-hmm. That lightsaber always looked... Sword of the Spirit. Sorry, copyright infringement. That Sword of the Spirit actually always looked pretty solid for the budget.
The Sword of the Spirit always looked good. The villains, while not like...
Oh, the villain was always the best thing.
Like, what? Yeah, they weren't necessarily evil, but like...
Luxor Spawndroth.
Oh, gosh, but... Jeez, were they memorable. Like,
no place like a happy place when you're living like Furiosa.
I just remember, what was something
all the Trekkies are coming after us right now going,
Prince of Rage? Prince of Rage or whatever?
No.
He like lives in like 3 different basements through 3 different movies.
Does he?
Yeah, I think so. And he always has his computer's name's what?
Lucy.
It was just, bro. All that to say, I think I'd prefer a Bible Man remake over another Star Trek series.
I'd kind of be down for a Bible Man now that you brought it up in our Star Trek discussion. I don't care. We need a Bible Man episode now. I mean, we could do a 5 good things with Bible Man, but everything is good about Bible Man, except for, Willie Ames' off-the-field antics. But we won't get into that.
Okay, but to be fair, Willie Ames, his off-the-field antics are only, like, outside the norm because he's playing Bible Man. That's the only reason.
It's true.
That's the only reason.
It's like Macaulay Culkin being Bible Man.
I'm here for all of that. Yes, please. Oh my God.
Okay.
No. I want Jude Law as Bible Man. and Macaulay Culkin as Cypher.
Just no. Just no. Tom Hiddleston as the bad guy.
Nah, Macaulay. Nope, there it is. Macaulay Culkin always plays the bad guy, and always just completely different, but always terrible makeup.
And Judi Dench plays Eunice, the computer.
Eunice, yes.
Getting back, and we'll try and close on Star Trek before we get too sidetracked with Bible Man again.
Sorry.
Paramount Plus, why are you milking this so much? But then again, every franchise is kind of doing that. Peacock is bringing back Punky Brewster with Freddie Prinze Jr., which I've actually heard is pretty decent. I almost call it CBS All Access. Paramount Plus bringing back iCarly without Jeanette McCurdy, because that's not going to get awkward. But to be fair, she had her own show with Sam and Cat, so it all levels out in the end, I guess. I don't know. I also, maybe it's just me, I've got this sneaking suspicion that in a few months, they'll announce another movie. Except this one will be a Paramount Plus exclusive. I think it's weird that other than the Ninja Turtles movie by Seth Rogen, we have not heard any other Paramount Plus movie, exclusives.
Hold on.
He's producing it.
Okay. Because this is actually the first I'm hearing of it, so I was like, what?
Yes, look it up. It's the only exclusive that I heard about that's in development for Paramount Plus is a new Ninja Turtles, an animated Ninja Turtles. I think it's animated. Animated Ninja Turtles produced by Seth Rogen.
I'm here for it. It's Sethy. I love Sethy.
Can't be any worse than what they've already been. And I'm not even talking about Michael Bay. Guys, as much as I love the Turtles, their history's a bit spotted at best. Let's not bring up the Christmas album.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we've got a random one, but also it gives me permission to lose hope in something. So a few months back, we talked about Universal's basically going all out in terms of everyone's getting their own standalone movie, and I had to double check because I felt like we talked about this recently, and in a sense we kind of did. So Dracula's assistant, Renfield, he's basically the Igor to Dracula's Frankenstein type of thing. Renfield is getting his own movie. However, when we talked about it last, it was going to be directed by Rocketman's Dexter Fleischer. And now, I didn't even realize we made a change, but it just happened a few hours before we started recording this, that now it's going to be the Lego Batman movie's Chris McKay directing Renfield. And I'm going, odd. One, didn't know Chris McKay has ever done any horror. Two, this is yet another project that he's attached to. Is he going to stick to this project? Because I'm still not over the fact that in 2017 he was announced to direct a Nightwing movie. Where the heck is that? That's what I mean of, does this officially give me permission to move on from him ever doing a Nightwing movie?
Yes, absolutely.
But here's the thing. I really like Lego Batman. It's wonderful. I'm starting to get some red flags with Chris McKay. Because Nightwing thing aside, and my Nightwing bias aside, the same thing happened to Dungeons & Dragons. He left the Nightwing movie to do the Dungeons & Dragons movie that's set to go start filming in the next couple months. However, he's not doing that anymore. Either he left the project or he was fired off the project, and now the directors that did Game Night are doing Dungeons & Dragons instead. Now, he's got a movie coming out in the next couple months with Chris Pratt called The Tomorrow War, but other than that, the Tomorrow War is basically, we're getting attacked by aliens, so we bring in different warriors from different time periods to all fight together, which I'm like, that's either the greatest premise or the worst premise, because why would people from the past be better warriors than nowadays when we have, guns? But
this is some Mortal Kombat kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I still hold on to, I love Lego Batman so much. This gives me permission to move on emotionally and stop getting my hopes up for at least a Chris McKay directed Nightwing movie. I still think we might get a Nightwing movie on HBO Max, or better yet, Warner Brothers told him, hey, Matt Reeves might want to put Dick Grayson in his movies at some point, and we don't want to cross his dreams and confuse the audience. But getting back to the movie itself, nothing to do with the director. Renfield. Mm-hmm. Even in horror circles, the name Renfield doesn't immediately conjure something up. You have to go, Renfield. Oh, Dracula's assistant. It's not like when you say Igor, people know who that is because of Young Frankenstein, actually, because in the original movie it's Fritz, not Igor. But when you say that name, people at least know who that is. When you say Renfield, it kind of sounds like you're saying Ren Fair, and it's not interesting. I don't understand this. Like, we've got like 2 separate Dracula movies. This, to me, kind of seems a little like Universal stretching themselves too thin, but maybe not. Josh, you see this any different at all?
I had to Google who Renfield was.
Yeah, exactly.
And that should just tell you enough. Like, if this is going to be like a movie about his perspective of what happens in Dracula, like, cool, I guess. But, or like what his life was before Dracula, cool, I guess. You know, like, I can think of so many things that are way more interesting than Renfield.
The Brides of Dracula would be much more interesting.
Yeah. Just to name one.
Now, there's a way that you can get me interested in this, but it'll never happen. Renfield, a vampire comedy directed by Taika Waititi.
Let's go.
Because honestly, the show What We Do in the Shadows has a character that's more or less a Renfield, of the guy that takes care of their day-to-day stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how, and they did it well and humorously. Just do that. I don't know how you make that scary, because he's not really an intimidating or scary character. He's a socially awkward character. I just don't understand this. And I've actually been pretty vocal in support of Universal's moves lately in terms of their horror monsters. I didn't love Invisible Man, but that's my own biases towards the original coming out. But they've seemed like they've been methodically planning their new movies, going, we don't need them to be connected, we just want good individual character stories. This seems like cash grab for the first time, but maybe we're wrong. Maybe they do have something mapped out here. But the fact that this is not the first director attached to this movie, I'm getting Uncharted vibes all over again, of we're just announcing this just to announce this, and it's going to be a carousel of directors until we get some poor guy that will actually stick with it, that'll be our scapegoat for this.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right, unfortunately.
This week's episode, before we get into our main discussion, this week's episode is sponsored by, let's just stick with Universal. Horror Nights is around the corner, and they haven't announced anything yet. Announce something, please.
Around the corner? Hold on. Around the corner?
I mean,
it's April.
It starts in September. It's around the corner.
It's 4 months.
Did I show you the meme? I know I showed it on Facebook. That was just like, it's April now. You know what that means? He starts doing the Halloween dance. It's like, stop. It's April. You can't deter me. It's always spooky season. It's either baseball season, spooky season, or Christmas. One of those 3. So Universal, watch this segue. Universal that we talked about. Universal has a tendency to sabotage their own movies. It happens time and time again. That's what we're going to talk about today. The moments and marketing campaigns that single-handedly ruined a movie. Because sometimes we've got both good and bad movies that we're going to talk about today. But all of these movies were screwed over somehow or some way by their movie marketing campaigns. Because for some of you might not know, the marketing team is almost never the team that worked on the movie. So, promotional material, trailers, that's somebody else. And the left hand and the right hand often don't know what each other are doing. and that could be disastrous. So there's quite a few movies on here that I don't particularly like, but I don't fault the filmmakers in this because there might be trailers that are bad, trailers that give away too much, or just sheer dumb choices. So that's what we're going to do today. I have 10. I don't know how many Josh has. We didn't try and do a list. We just tried to think of, I tried to think of at least varying projects, but also varying reasons why these marketing fails happened, whether it was bad trailers. I didn't want to just put, this had a bad trailer that sabotaged the whole movie. Or just, there's some examples of people involved with the movie shouldn't have talked or lashed out in the way that they did. Speaking of lashed out, I didn't even think about this, but I'll put it as an honorable mention. Terminator Salvation. Christian Bale yelling at the lighting guy.
Yeah.
That is not on my list. I have another Terminator movie instead, but that, I think, really hurt the movie because everyone kind of went into it going, we know this is a nightmare of a production, and Christian Bale, this is not a good look on him. I actually still really enjoy Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Especially Anton Yelchin. He's wonderful as Kyle Reese. He's perfect. But yeah, I really think that hurt the movie a lot. There's a variety of things that can hurt a production. I talked about Terminator. I'll continue on the Terminator train and start that way. Terminator Genesis. Oh my god.
We got the same one.
We're going to talk about trailers that ruin the movie, basically. But this, to me, is one of the single most egregious I've ever seen. To the point of even the director came out and goes, oh yeah, I did not approve of this. This was a bad move because we structured the movie around this big plot reveal that gets revealed in the trailer. So spoiler alert for those that haven't seen the movie, but also we're going to spoil it so you don't have to watch this terrible, terrible movie. So basically the plot of every Terminator is there's a Terminator sent back in time to kill a member of the Connor family, whether it's Sarah Connor or John Connor. Mm-hmm. Well, in Terminator Genesis, John Connor, the leader of the Resistance, the great hero, is the Terminator. However, that gets spoiled in the middle of the trailer, and all of us just go, 1, that's stupid, 2, that CGI looks terrible, and 3, oh my god, why did you just show that in your trailer? That's a huge moment. That basically changes the entire dynamic. And like the rest of the trailer, they don't show him in action, I feel like. I haven't watched the trailer in a while. So I'm like, why? I understand that you have to get people's butts in seats, but did you not trust that the return of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who wasn't in the previous Terminator Salvation, did you not trust that the return of Arnold Schwarzenegger to the franchise and Emilia Clarke, who is still hot off Game of Thrones, could get the job done in selling the movie? There's no logical reason for you to do that. And that scared so many people away to the point of when they do the next Terminator, Dark Fate, they're like, yeah, the only ones that count are the first two. They completely scrap any form of continuity, which also didn't work out in their favor either. But they more or less, Dark Fate had the unfortunate issues of trying to fix the problems of Genesis. And that comes right down to its marketing as well as just being a bad movie. But that marketing sabotaged it so bad.
Yeah, and what sucked too is it wasn't even the first. I think it was like the second trailer. So like there was already some hype behind the movie. Like, oh, okay, this looks kind of interesting. All right, cool. So like filming's done. 3 months later, boom, trailer. All right, cool. Everyone's kind of on board. A couple more months later, second one drops, and now the whole plot is ruined for a movie that doesn't come out for another 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I was actually really on board with Old Man Arnold. Like when he takes his hood off, I was like, oh, that looks cool. But yeah, that comes out, and I'm just like, oh, no. Like, I've never been emotionally attached to Terminator, but I felt in my heart, I felt bad for Terminator fans just going, oh no, that's not good for you guys. Oh, no, I'll save that one for later because it's going to torment Josh. Let's talk about another one that trailers give away way too much, because I did a trailer reaction for this movie, and I even said in the trailer reaction, why did you show that? Because, one, you should have just hit it, but two, I still to this day think it was a stupid decision to include Doomsday in Batman vs. Superman. Because, one, you shouldn't kill off Superman in only his second movie when we still don't really emotionally connect with him just yet. But two, Doomsday looked bad. And three, keep that hidden. Again, Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm not going to tell you who it is because it's a spoiler. There's a thing that they have to fight, very, very similar to Batman vs. Superman, except they don't show you. So you have to go to the theater to see what it is. I do not blame Zack Snyder in the slightest for Doomsday showing up in that Batman vs. Superman trailer. And you can tell that the trailer company knew they messed up with the trailer because they show Doomsday and then immediately show Wonder Woman to distract you from, oh, crap, here's Doomsday. No! Because you can go back and watch my reaction to it is, why did you show Doomsday? And then I immediately get distracted going, oh, Wonder Woman's in this movie. Because you know that's what they were going for in this trailer. But that's not what you should do. Let us see and experience Doomsday for ourselves in the theater, whether we wanted him in the movie or not. Because showing Doomsday, you literally took out the one last surprise that was in the movie. Because I remember you and I discussing the movie before it came out. Because I think it may have been Michael or Alex or somebody said, we've seen everything in the trailers. And I'm going, nah, because this toy has Lex Luthor's green and purple armor, which was never in the movie, so it was me just being stupid buying into toy hype. But at that point, there was no Doomsday in the trailer. I'm just like, no, there's some surprises. With the Doomsday in the trailer, you're just like, well, if they're showing that, they have to have some other surprises in their back pocket. No, they didn't. They showed every big thing in the trailer. It also comes back to when Batman and Superman are fighting. I saw the entire fight in trailers, and I didn't seek out any extra trailers. I didn't watch everything that came out. But they showed the entire Batman versus Superman fight through all the various footage in the trailers and stuff. I'm just like, this is something we should see in the trailer. Give us just a tiny bit, or better yet, like Kong versus Godzilla, have them show the first punch in the trailer and then cut to black. Don't show anything else. Tease just enough. And that was idiotic.
Yeah, it was dumb. And like, I would even go as far to say is like, we knew that Wonder Woman was in it, but don't show her in the trailer. Leave
or
that as a moment for us.
Show Diana, but don't show a suited up Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like give us something, give us a reason to see the movie. And like, I'll go even as far to say is Zach should have kept his mouth shut the entire marketing process. How many times were people like, hey, Zach, what's this? And he answered their tweet about stuff in the movie. We knew the history behind Robin and the burnt suit before we saw the movie.
Yeah, Zach's always been bad about that. Like even his biggest defenders, like we talked about, as much as we both really, really enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League, a lot of the stuff in the trailer would have been really, really cool had he not shown it on his personal social medias a day or two before. Like, the first time we see Darkseid in that trailer, wouldn't it have been cool if we hadn't seen that, like, a day or two ago in his pictures? Like, Zach, I get you're excited, but you've got to let us experience the hype, like, when it's supposed to happen, not a day or two before, just because you want to be the one that shares it. Like, I get that you're excited, but let us experience it, too.
I mean, and like, just like even with the Justice League thing, think about how much more you would have popped if the first time you saw Steppenwolf's suit, it was in the movie. The redesign. Because I don't necessarily know about you, but I'm a big fan of that suit redesign. And
I don't like either one, to be honest.
That's fair. But at the same time, like, I think it would have been way cooler to see it in the movie for the first time. Or, you know, like, to me, I don't know why we have a trailer for a movie that's just being re-edited. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, three trailers.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, we're talking about Batman v Superman. Yeah, the whole movie spoiled through the course of all the trailers, through all of the marketing, all of the interviews. We basically knew the whole movie beat for beat. And, like, I'm not going to say it made it less. It didn't make it as good of a movie, because the movie's okay. but like I don't think it helped. Like
No.
I think if maybe you know what? No, I'm gonna commit to it. I think if there was a good chunk of stuff that was saved for us to see in the movie, I don't think we would be as negative about it.
That's probably fair. They did show a lot, and I don't think we sought out a lot of trailers. It
No,
was just
that was yeah.
it was just that like that's what happened, and that happened again to a lesser, well, actually to a greater extent with another movie that we'll talk about later. That I still do not understand this decision at all. That a movie that we'll talk about later uploaded willingly, completely free, the first 20 minutes of a movie. And I'm just going, why? Like, I get uploading like maybe 5 minutes or a minute scene. They uploaded the first 20 minutes, not like illegally or anything. They openly like gave it to like IGN or something. But we'll talk about that because that was beyond idiotic. Josh,
That's so dumb.
Josh, what do you got next?
So since we're talking about trailers, we've been talking about trailers that show too much. Let's talk about trailers that didn't show enough, and so people had no idea what the movie was about.
Mm.
Um, I know you and I love Edge of Tomorrow,
Mm.
but not a lot of people went to see it in the theaters because the trailers were so like super
Vague.
vague. And I
So,
mean, and it's Tom Cruise, so it could have easily, just from those trailers, could have been, oh, it's just another Tom Cruise action movie. Okay, cool.
I also have Edge of Tomorrow, but I don't single-handedly point it on the trailer. Edge of Tomorrow is quite possibly, besides one other movie, quite possibly the single worst movie marketing campaign. Just all the factors. So we talked about the trailer. It was super,
Yeah.
super vague. Didn't tell what the story was at all, other than, okay, there's some form of a repeating process. That was the beginning of the problems. And Josh, you're still actually involved in my story with Edge of Tomorrow, believe it or not. So this movie is based off of, I believe, a manga called All You Need Is Kill. So the movie was originally going to be called All You Need Is Kill. And then, like, is during production or during filming, they decided to rename it to Edge of Tomorrow, which sounds like a James Bond movie, not a sci-fi action movie. And to be honest, in terms of getting butts in seats, All You Need Is Kill sounds a lot better than Edge of Tomorrow. But then, changing the name once wasn't bad enough. Once it came to home video, they changed the name again to Live, Die, Repeat, which is actually worse than Edge of Tomorrow because it sounds like a video game. And I remember at Family Video, we had watched Edge of Tomorrow recently, like my roommates and I or something, and you, Josh, specifically asked, we found you at Family Video or something, and you're like, hey, I can't find Live, Die, Repeat, and all of us are going, what? Never heard of that one. You know, that one with Tom Cruise, and all of us are like, you mean Edge of Tomorrow? Like,
Yes.
and then you look at the box and it says Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat.
Live, die, repeat.
No, so,
on the box.
So
Oh
you were
my
right,
God.
but it's a matter of you changed the name after the movie came out. So the people that did like your movie in theaters and are trying to recommend it to their friends saying, hey, you need to see this movie. It's going to be hard for them when you've changed the movie's name now to Live, Die, Repeat instead. It's bungled time and time again. Also, this is me putting the tinfoil hat on. I think they didn't do a good enough job of differentiating this from Tom Cruise's last movie, what's the one where he's wearing like the white jumpsuit the whole time with Morgan Freeman?
Oblivion.
Yes. I don't think this movie did enough
No.
of a job distinguishing itself from Oblivion from a marketing standpoint. And Oblivion, if I remember correctly, didn't do overly well for the exact same issues of looking like a generic sci-fi movie. So I get why people didn't see Edge of Tomorrow because they're just like, well, it's just Oblivion all over again. But in reality, it's one of the most creative and original sci-fi movies we've had in years. But oh my goodness, every single step of the marketing campaign was wrong.
It was bad, dude. It was so bad. Like to the point, like even on the box, it says on the spine, it says Edge of Tomorrow, but on the front it says Live, Die. Excuse me, Live, Die, Repeat. Like bro, like how what's the name of the movie? Like you're looking at the box. Like what is the name? Is it what's on the front or is it what's on the spine? What is it? Yeah, it just everything from the trailer being way too vague to not really a lot of press, not really a lot of like constant name changes. Just everything was against this movie. I'm gonna say everything, but I mean, there's
Everything.
some movies out there that like even the studio didn't want to put it out, and it was obvious.
Mm. Oh no, we'll talk about that one later. No, at least with Edge of Tomorrow, unlike some other movies that we'll talk about, Edge of Tomorrow was a fighter until the end. Still to this day, we will never get a sequel just because Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt are so busy. It fought till the end of it did not have a good opening weekend, but it had legs. Like Greatest Showman did not open at number one, I don't think, but both those movies just kept going and going because word of mouth was so strong with Edge of Tomorrow, and it's managed to, I think, break even to get at least a little bit of a profit, despite the bad marketing. That's just better than some other movies we can say, unfortunately, which were dead on arrival. What you got next, Josh?
Let's see. We've talked about that. We've talked about that one. All right. So this isn't necessarily a marketing fail that affected the movie, but a sponsor of using promotional material from a movie that just put kind of a weird taste on Man of Steel with the Gillette razor commercials.
Oh, see,
Like
when I was doing research, yeah, this showed up and I was like, I don't remember these.
the whole you don't remember that?
I
It was
don't.
the weirdest thing. How like it felt like a bunch of execs were like, "Hey, you know what? I bet comic book people think about this all the time. Let's use this as a slogan."
Despite the fact that we actually know from the Justice League
Yeah,
animated series, no,
we're
Superman
not
animated series,
stupid.
how he
Like,
shaves.
yeah. So for those that don't know, um, Man of Steel was attached in a promotional campaign with Gillette razors with the tagline of "How does Superman shave?" to the point that they brought on like they had like interviews with people like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, like real scientists. They're like, "Hey, how would this work? How would Superman shave?" Bro, stop. Like, no. It didn't
Come on
necessarily
now.
affect the movie, but like that's such a fail. Like that's not reading your audience at all.
That's weird, man. That's weird. Like I
It's
thoroughly enjoy Man of Steel.
painful.
I don't even remember that. Like
Dude, it
that's
was weird.
that's a weird tie-in. I'm trying to see if there's any other trailer related ones. Don't count that as trailer, not trailer. Although trailer's tied into it, that's a whole story. Um.
I have
Oh,
one that's kind of trailer related.
I have a couple. I have two. Nah, actually, all of them have something to do with trailers or involved somehow. I want to save that one for later because that one's notoriously bad. How about sometimes movies ruin their movie? Sometimes marketings really severely hurt their movie by misleading the audience,
There
not
we
so
go.
much
Okay, cool, cool,
spoiling too
cool.
much.
Yeah,
Even
I
if
got
the
you
movie
now.
itself is really excellent, people can still be pissed by how it's marketed. And I'll give you two separate names, one horror, one drama. I still remember people getting pissed at Ryan Gosling's Drive
Bro!
because
Yes!
for some reason the idiots marketing this movie market it as, if you love Fast and Furious, you're gonna love Drive, and that is not what this movie is at all. Drive is amazing, but it is a vehicle
No.
it's a vehicle to show Ryan Gosling as a legitimately amazing actor, and people were misled with that one for sure. And the other one,
Yeah,
the more
hmm.
recent one, but I feel more because mismarketing a horror movie is a cardinal sin, and I think by and large this movie got positive reception, except for certain audiences that thought it was something else in Hereditary.
Oh, yeah.
Hereditary was marked as like the next Exorcist or the scariest movie you'll ever see, and don't get me wrong, there's some scary stuff that happens in Hereditary, but it is a slow burn horror about a family and its past trauma, basically. But the movie was marketed as there's going to be a scare. It was marketed the same way as a Conjuring or an Insidious, of just like a popcorn scare fest. That is not what Hereditary is. And there was a lot of people coming out of it that were just like, this movie's not scary at all. It's boring. It's just like, if you don't watch the trailers for Hereditary, you go in blind and you will enjoy it a whole lot more because you won't have a preconceived notion as to what the movie is supposed to be. Yeah, like Josh is. I think Drive was a much worse example, though.
Yeah, I would agree. It's because I didn't see the trailers for Midsommar or Hereditary. I heard like, hey, there's these two really good movies from Ari. You should watch them. And I was like, okay, cool. And like just took it on faith, because I think like you recommended them to me, and like I had a couple other people whose judgment on like scary movies I trusted recommended it, and I was like, okay, cool, we can do that. But Drive, I must just not see trailers, because like I don't remember a trailer for Drive at all. I just remember seeing.
I don't remember the trailers for Drive either. I just remember people being pissed.
All I remembered was, I think I saw it on Netflix, and I just saw Ryan Gosling in a really cool jacket and gloves, and I saw in the tagline mob violence, and I was like, let's do it. Okay.
With like, Oscar Isaac, nonetheless.
Like, bro, that movie is so good. And like, between that one and what's the other one that he did, that Ryan did at that time?
Between the Pines?
Between the Pines. There was both of those solid, like super dramatic. Like, if you want to get as an actor, if you want to change how people view you from
Mickey Mouse Club,
Nicholas Sparks, movie, the best way to do that is probably put a hammer in your hand and have you go to town, like in Drive. So, but yeah, no, the marketing. Just the trailers mismarketed it, both of those, so hard. My examples, one of them is interesting. I actually had like a whole history lesson, because obviously it's way before my time. But the other one is Annihilation, which I saw last year.
Oh, the Alex Garland movie.
Yes. So for those that don't know, Annihilation stars Natalie Portman, and it's I would describe it as like an art house sci-fi.
Yeah,
almost.
That's
like
basically Alex Garland movies.
Yeah, but like to say art house that almost sounds negative, but I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was very, very good. However, all of the marketing for it, trailers and everything, and even really like the posters, like kind of pitched it as a sci-fi monster movie. And I'll tell you right now,
yes, they did. I remember that.
There is a monster, ish, but not really.
Babadook.
Okay, but see, again, I didn't see a trailer for Babadook. I just was like, oh, that looks
Babadook's not on my list today.
Yeah, but. Yeah, like Annihilation, like presenting, it's sci-fi movies are akin to horror movies in that the trailer is almost everything. Mm-hmm. The trailer will
Good
dictate
Night, Mommy.
to the audience. Yeah, bro. Okay, but Goodnight Mommy made it seem like, it's just like
that's not deceptive, but that's a leaving the mark type of trailer.
Yeah, it is, and when you think it's going to be bad, like rough to get through, and then it ends up being so much worse than you thought that the trailers made you think it was going to be. But no, Annihilation is, and I remember seeing the trailer and going, you know what? I don't need another sci-fi monster movie. I'll pass. And then like I watched it last year on all that off time that we all had, and I was like, why didn't this would have been amazing in the theater. Like, oh, man. The other one I had, and this is a little bit of a history lesson for Josh, was Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I knew that one flopped.
Yes, at the theaters. But it, like, the trailer in itself mismarketed it as this lighthearted animation Disney film. Which, yeah, the face you're making is exactly what I was like. Oh no, that's not
just
good.
show hellfire in the trailers, and that's the tone of the movie.
Yeah, like it's this story about lust and genocide and
Gypsies.
the gypsies, like, and being deformed and like the church being actually kind of terrible, but also good at the same time. And it's such a weird, like, complex movie. But so the trailers apparently were all really, really lighthearted. And so parents got super upset when they took their kids to it, and you have Hellfire. Oddly enough, though, because of Notre Dame and the content that it actually is in its original story, they, like, the whole fan base that saw Hunchback saw the trailer. The trailer was like pretty pissed, like, oh no, like, this is a really dark story, you can't do that to this story. And then they watched it and went,
oh,
so you went dark but you didn't go all the way. All right, whatever. So you gypped out. So, like, apparently there's a whole fan club of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like,
I believe
on
it.
like of like the original book, that don't like treat this like the last Airbender movie. Like, it doesn't exist, and they don't deem it a thing that happened, which is crazy to me. But all based on the marketing that was presented at the beginning. So which is just, history lessons, because Hunchback was way before my time.
Okay, I got one last one, and then I'll really get into these are the top worst marketing campaigns of all time. This one just barely misses out on that distinction, but it should also be noted that this one was pretty bad. We talked about it earlier. Amazing Spider-Man 2 had the boneheaded decision of, hey, you know what's going to get butts in seats? If we show everyone the first 20 minutes of our movie. I think they shared it with, like, IGN or somebody, like an actual outlet. They're just like, here's the first 20 minutes of our movie. Let's have everyone watch it. Admittedly, the opening scene of Amazing Spider-Man 2 when he's stopping the Rhino is the best thing in that entire movie. When he's like, roll down the window. Hey, you can call me Spidey, you can call me Spider-Man, just don't call me late for dinner. I'm like, that's perfect. And then the rest of the movie happens. But
yes,
I distinctly remember they showed so much in the trailers, whether it was that 20-minute piece that I didn't even seek out, but I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, who would want to see this? You're so close to the movie coming out. Like, they released it like the week that the movie was coming out. Like, just wait a little bit more.
Yeah.
They showed that. They showed New Goblin in the trailer when they really did not need to. I feel like even in the trailers, they show Gwen Stacy falling. They don't show her dying, but I feel like they show her falling. I'm going, you do realize, guys, that that's like the biggest moment of your entire movie that you should have done better with the whole, like, fading webs in the wind. But we will continue to beat that horse down. Amazing Spider-Man 2, it reeked of desperation. They're like, Amazing Spider-Man 1 was a modest success for us. It wasn't the most successful movie in the franchise. That's still actually, up until that point, it was Spider-Man 3 of all things. But they're just like, we have gone all in on Spider-Man, and we really, really need this movie to work. So please, for the love of God, will you see this movie opening weekend? Please, please, please. We'll give you it for free, please, at the rate that we're going. I still think it's my least favorite Spider-Man movie, but the marketing for it was so bad of, guys, have some restraint. We're going to see the movie in theaters. Stop showing stuff. Like, oh my gosh.
So I've got two more before, like, we get into the nitty gritty. This wasn't an issue necessarily that really, like, how do I say, ruined the movie, but it was also, like, it's definitely a marketing fail. So X-Men Apocalypse, I don't know if
the chokehold, the choke slam,
the chokehold, like, literally, like, I don't know what somebody was thinking to put the only thing outside of the title on a billboard next to a highway in multiple states be Apocalypse literally choking Jennifer Lawrence's character, just like there, and that's it. No context, nothing. Like,
So I have heard rumor that for the next, like when they do reboot X-Men, instead of Apocalypse, they're just gonna have Ezra Miller there.
stop. Okay, but no, it was just it. I don't think it necessarily quote unquote hurt the movie, but like, because the movie's not that good anyway. But
It's the worst X-Men movie. I'll go on record
yeah,
saying that's my least favorite X-Men movie by
yeah,
far.
it's not good, and they definitely baned Oscar Isaacs like that. Dude, when somebody was like, Oscar Isaac's gonna play Apocalypse, I was like,
Yes!
yes,
And then you
absolutely.
saw his Ivan Ooze outfit.
Oh my goodness, that was bad.
Okay,
that was
but here's
so
the thing.
bad.
Here's the thing. I don't think a villain choking a heroic character is a bad thing. But the fact that that is the poster, I still think is more weird that people got up in arms going, you have a character choking out a woman. I'm like, you do realize he's the bad guy. Are you mad that he's choking her out right now? Then he's doing his job. That being said, that being the poster is a weird choice as opposed to literally anything else in the movie.
Yeah.
Show Quicksilver running, show Magneto and Professor X doing literally anything. Just show Professor X wheeling down a ramp at the mansion or something. Literally anything is better than, here's our poster, look how menacing. Or even have Apocalypse choking out any other character. It just was a bad look that, like, I don't disagree with the decision to show a character choking another character. I disagree with, this was our poster. You couldn't do anything better with this? Like,
yeah. I think for me, too, it's like, the thing about posters is you should be able to understand what's going on without context.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have no idea what's going to happen in X-Men Apocalypse, you haven't seen any of the trailers, and that billboard's the only thing you've seen, that's a little tough there, buddy. Let's see. I have to talk about New Mutants,
which is now on HBO Max.
Yes, it is. So I will finally get to see it.
Me too, for free. That was always meant to be watched.
Yes. Well, see. Okay, here's the thing. Knowing how it is now, yeah, okay, absolutely. But I think I texted you when that first trailer dropped. I was like, this is so interesting. This concept's going to be so, like, different. And to a certain extent, it's still very different from a lot of... It didn't go as far as I think it needed to, but whatever. Water by the bridge. Water under the bridge?
Water by the bridge.
Water by the bridge. I mean, technically, it's the same phrase.
That's the new phrase there. Water by the bridge.
But, like... The thing was that first trailer dropped and then nothing happened for literally years. And everyone was like, so is this still happening? And then they're like, yeah, this is the date. And then that date came.
And then COVID hit.
And then COVID hit. And we were just like, is this a thing? And part of it's not necessarily marketing, but also like, there was no information about what was going on. Even like before COVID hit. There was like literally years before COVID hit. I remember the first trailer for New Mutants dropped in like
2017.
Yeah, like it's been a hot minute. So marketing is akin to information. So, but like for a movie to get that much buzz that quick and then just drop off the face of the planet, that's a fail. That's definitely a fail.
So this isn't a specific trailer, but it's definitely it's almost scared me away from seeing this movie, and I almost feel pretty confident saying it's not on Josh's list because I'm sure he's repressed this memory down. All I need to say is 2 words though, and the pain and agony will come rushing back. Paige here.
I'm so mad because that is what people will remember.
Yep. Okay.
Because it's such a good movie. It's so much better than it has any right to be.
Seriously.
And
okay.
that's what people are going to remember, or that's why people like avoided it.
Yes.
Like,
so for those that don't know, I'm of course referring to the WWE movie Fighting with My Family, which, full disclosure, is a whole heck of a lot better than the marketing portrayed it. But for some reason, in typical WWE fashion, they bungled the build-up, but they delivered on the actual execution for the most part. Except the ending in Fighting with My Family is better than most WWE stuff. But for some reason, when they first introduced this movie, they have this awkward close-up of Paige, a wrestler at the time, and also the movie is about her. So there's this awkward close-up. I'm gonna move my mic first. It's like this close. It's like super close up on her face, except for the fact that like it's just like Josh's close up like this basically, and she just stands there with this awkward grin on her face for about 2 to 5 seconds of dead air that they never trimmed down, because this aired for weeks. They never trimmed that down. It's super weird. It was almost like Dora of like, have you seen my new trailer? Like that kind of dead space. And she just goes, Paige here? And it was just so awkward. And then what follows, I'll be honest, is one of the cringiest trailers I've seen in a while. So it's her and her brother in the movie meet The Rock, played by himself. And they're up-and-coming wrestlers that want to become big superstars, so they ask him questions about how to be a wrestler, and it is so cringy and so bad. It fits in the context of the movie, but out of context, I get they're just like, look, The Rock is in this movie, because as Josh has highlighted numerous times on the podcast, The Rock was a key instrument in getting this movie made. He's the reason why this movie happened in the first place. So I get wanting to advertise him. But The Rock has 2 scenes in the entire movie, and showing one of them in the trailer is, 1, misleading, but 2, it's a terrible scene to show. And all the trailers for Fighting with My Family were awful. But the marketing was epitomized by this whole Paige here meme that just went everywhere, because it's Paige is an attractive young lady. The camera angle that they had on her was so awkward and just so unflattering that you're like, oh, okay, take a step back from the camera, please. And that kind of was this cloud over the rest of the movie, to the point of when I finally saw it, I come out of it going, that was way better than it had any right to be. And it's hard enough to convince people to see a WWE movie because most of them are trash. This was way better than it had any right to be, and it succeeded despite arguably having one of the worst off-the-block starts for a marketing campaign I've ever seen.
I just remember seeing people who had no idea what WWE was posting Paige here memes. And I was like, oh no, it's really that bad, isn't it?
It was that bad.
I felt so bad for Paige. Because I was like, there's no way that camera angle was her decision. Like, that's all WWE. It was so bad.
It was such an unflattering camera angle.
Yeah, it was. So, but yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Not on my list. But
it's because you've repressed the memory, not wanting to think about it ever again.
Yeah.
And in the words of The Rock, what can I say except you're welcome?
You're welcome.
And bring back your worst memories.
Oh, no. I only have one left, and you already know what it is, so...
I've got 2 I got 4 left, but I'm sure at least 2 of them... I'll go for some so we can split it up a little bit more. I'm sure at least some of mine are also yours. So, the trailer definitely hurt this movie, but this is one of those examples of someone involved with the movie should have just shut their mouths, because Paul Feig is a very opinionated man, obviously, because his movies can be a bit divisive at times, as can the star of most of his movies, Melissa McCarthy, as was especially the case when they announced a new Ghostbusters movie in 2016. This movie was not going to be well received either way. And I'll be honest, the first trailer didn't wow me, but it wasn't an awful trailer. I know the like to dislike ratio on that trailer is horrendous because people are going, you can't have a female Ghostbusters. Me on the other going, I don't really care for the franchise, so I'm probably not going to watch this. The trailer wasn't bad, it just really wasn't particularly funny, except for maybe one or two Kate McKinnon lines, which were pretty good. But the trailer got a lot of backlash, so that put it on the wrong foot. But I remember distinctly the director coming out and saying, all these people that don't like the trailer are just angry men that don't want women Ghostbusters, like really bashing the audience. They're just like, they're just Ghostbusters fans that need to grow up and understand that this movie's not for them. First of all, telling anyone that the movie is not for them, not a good thing to say when the movie has yet to come out still. You want to reach as many people as possible. I distinctly remember going, ooh, you're already on the back foot with this movie. Don't shoot yourself in the foot any more than you have to. And the same thing happened with Elizabeth Banks and Charlie's Angels of, well, this movie's not for men. Well, women didn't see your movie either. So what's the issue there? It's one of those times of, sometimes you just got to take it on the chin that maybe the trailer isn't going to be well received and just kind of go with it. And if you have a good enough movie, you go, okay, just trust us and see this movie. I still have yet to see Ghostbusters. I don't care about the franchise that much. The trailers didn't wow me. I wasn't overly enthralled with the cast. But at the same time, having a director come out and say, basically, if you don't like my movie, you hate women, that's going to turn off a fairly decent amount of your audience there. That's a dumb choice.
It's dumb. I have seen the Ghostbusters movie. It's not bad. It's fine. It's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
You know? But then again, that's how I feel about most of the Ghostbusters movies. So
yeah,
I think the big thing, the big positive that I do have with this movie is all four of the Ghostbusters are decent people.
Bill Murray.
It's not something I can say for the original Ghostbusters movies. So,
Bill Murray.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
So,
jeez.
Once again, we have to talk about the Tom Cruise because sometimes his movies, from a marketing standpoint, fail spectacularly. Case in point, one of the worst movies I've ever seen, 2017's The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise. So, I must have missed the first batch of trailers that came out for this, especially the first trailer, which is now infamous for The Mummy. So for those that don't know, The Mummy was more or less trying to reboot the Brendan Fraser one, except without the key ingredient of Brendan Fraser. So it was already on the back foot because people love the 99 one, myself included. There's pop figures coming out soon that I desperately want of Rick O'Connell because he's amazing. So people were already not buying it. Well, you got to make sure that your trailer really, really knocks it out of the park to really get people on board. And also, if you are releasing your trailer to the public, please make sure that all the assets in the trailer are in your project file. So, what I mean by this is the single funniest trailer of all time. So, what do you need for a trailer? Good visuals, good sound effects, good music, intriguing dialogue that tells you about what the movie's going to be about. Well, only like half of those were in this Mummy trailer, as the visuals are there, but there's no background music, there's no special effects noise, so the only thing you hear is dialogue. That's it. So, like, the action scene when the plane is about to crash, you normally hear the sound of the plane caught on fire or the wind rushing by, but instead you hear dead silence and a whole bunch of people going as they're throwing around the cabin, and as somebody gets thrown violently out of the plane, like, it is accidentally the funniest trailer you will ever watch, and you will never complain about sound ever again, realizing all the components have to come out. It's like someone was making the project in Premiere and turned a couple layers invisible. That way they could hear and isolate a specific sound. Is this loud enough? Is this loud enough? And then when they exported the file, they forgot to make those layers visible again. And it is the funniest thing I have ever watched. And it single-handedly doomed the movie because it became a meme of screaming Tom Cruise. And it's wonderful. I sent it to Josh earlier today to make sure he watched it, and it is impossible to keep a straight face. I showed it to one of my coworkers who didn't know this happened, and I just hear giggling over the next cubicle over, just going, "This is what happens when you don't double check before you hit save."
Yeah, oh my gosh. Like, and as somebody who has worked with Premiere, I know how easy it is to just forget to turn a couple layers back on. But like, how would you? It's just like a $1 billion company putting this out. Like, how do you just forget?
There's no way that wasn't done ahead of time. Like, completed. Like, normally trailers or projects are done with at least a day or two leeway. That way you can, like, schedule your uploads or whatever else. So this had to get past a few people. Like, do you not preview your projects before you send it out?
Man, that's so bad. It's so bad. It's so rough. And, like, the worst part, I think, is even when they added the sound in and they got the trailer with everything else, it was still a bad trailer. Oh, yeah. It was still not a good trailer. Oh, man.
But, okay, seriously, imagine, like, you know those funny videos of, like, people in bands, except without, like, the background instruments or whatever, of, like, those videos of like Elvis or whatever, except without the vocals, and it would be like if it actually sounded like this, and you have some idiot strumming the guitar or whatever else. Yes. That's exactly what this trailer was, except from a major studio, published everywhere before it got quickly taken down. But the internet never forgets. Nope. So I've got two left. Josh, I'm assuming you can guess what both of them are, but let's talk about the one that I know for a fact is on both of our lists. And the worst title for a movie this side of John Wick. John Carter. Oh my god, I love this movie. But let's agree to never call a movie John Carter ever again.
But, like, to be fair, the name of the story that they're pulling
is John Carter of Mars.
Of Mars. So,
which sounds better. Or, better yet, go with the sequel, The Princess of Mars.
Okay, yeah, see, that's not
Edgar Rice Burroughs has like 13 books in the Of Mars series. Just calling it John Carter is not good enough. You need something like Edge of Tomorrow we talked about. The name is not good enough. You need a reason for people to see your movie. John Carter is a terrible name, and the trailers did not explain what this movie's about. Also, can we just have a quick moment of silence for Taylor Kitsch in that year that he had both Battleship and John Carter? Like, dude need to fire his agent after that.
Because have we seen him since?
Yeah, he's slowly making a comeback.
Okay.
Also, he did X-Men Origins Wolverine as Gambit.
Okay, but like I liked him as
his Gambit was perfect, but the movie was bad.
Yes. Also, Junie from Spy Kids is in that movie. Is in John Carter.
Oh yeah, he is as Edgar Rice Burroughs. Yeah. Now that kid's married to Meghan Trainor.
Yeah. I'm failing at life.
And Macaulay Culkin has a kid now.
Yeah, with London.
He's like 40.
I'm so proud of him. Like, oh my gosh, he's my boy.
But John Carter has the worst name of all time.
Yeah, John Carter. Yeah, it's just almost as bad as we were talking about Star Trek and started talking about Bible Man.
Stay on target. I can't shake it.
Stay on target. I can't shake it, boss. Look at that, a better sci-fi series. Anyway,
again, it's Josh saying this, not me, but I agree.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not just like the name. What else doomed this?
It's a generic name, and the trailer was generic. Tried to push it as like a sci-fi thriller romance, and it didn't. That's what it's about, but like not what it's about at the same time.
See,
You know what I mean?
Here's what I would label it down to. I remember hearing a lot of complaints from people that had saw the trailer that didn't watch the movie. They're just like, they're trying to steal or rip off Star Wars, basically. It's like Disney's doing Star Wars before they owned it. I'm going, here's what the trailers failed to do is John Carter of Mars, these stories by Edgar Rice Burroughs, were the actual inspiration for early sci-fi. So
Yes.
what they should have done in the marketing was lean in more, saying, you love Star Wars, well, here's what Star Wars was inspired by. This was the OG sci-fi really, before anything else. And make it more unique, because you and I both love John Carter, and it has nothing to do with our friend Willem Dafoe being in it, too.
Nah.
It's just a genuinely good movie and a very creative movie. But the movie material leading up to it, I remember the poster very, very well. You got that awesome silhouette of him in a reddish, goldish sunset, and he's walking away from the camera. I'm like, that looks cool. But that poster with the name John Carter is uber vague. It does not tell us a single thing about this movie. And then it's even worse was the second trailer when he's in the arena fighting the big furry creature. Again, does not tell us anything. If you showed the final battle when they're on all the ships and everything fighting, that would have been a lot better. Show us the aesthetics of the world. What's the narrative? What's happening here? As opposed to, this is a dude that lands on Mars somehow. This could have been a major franchise for them, like Pirates of the Caribbean. But like in my last movie that we'll talk about here in a bit, they will never openly admit that they did this to themselves by how they marketed it. The name was dumb. The trailers were terrible leading up to it. And Disney, it almost seemed like they were embarrassed about this movie. And that's why the marketing was only like half speed. And like it was, I saw it a lot because they were marketing a lot at the Disney parks, and I would go there for vacation, so I'd still see a lot of John Carter stuff. And I remember asking Disney employees about this movie, and they were just like, I think it's based off of some old book. I'm like, you guys kind of need to know, because if no one knows what's happening here, this is not a good sign.
Yeah, it's basically showing Disney's track record to basically promise directors certain things, and then when they give those directors those things, they just don't do anything with it. Case in point, which I think is our last one, with Treasure Planet.
It is, of course, Treasure Planet.
Yes.
Now, I did a lot of research for this one, obviously, because I care about Treasure Planet a lot, but also, this is the most, like, just a groundswell of combination of things that just was working in this movie's favor. So, first of all, this movie was directed by Musker and Clemens, who also did, I believe, Little Mermaid. They would go end up doing Moana. They've done a bunch of Disney movies, but they were really passionate about Treasure Planet. And movie after movie after movie, they're just like, okay, we did this one. Can we do Treasure Planet now? And stupid Jeffrey Katzenberg, who, thanks for Quibi, Katzenberg, you're a genius, would tell them no and no time and time again, going, nobody cares about pirates. This is a stupid idea. Eventually, he's like, okay, do this number of movies, and then I'll finally let you do Treasure Planet. So they did their allotted movies, which all of them are amazing. But even then, Katzenberg did not care about Treasure Planet. He did not get it. The movie is honestly one of Disney's best of all time. And as much as I would like to see a live-action Treasure Planet, we never will, because it would be Disney admitting that they screwed up. Because they did. Not the filmmakers. Treasure Planet is a masterful movie. There's a lot of factors that we need to break down here. First of all, Disney not getting behind it. And so, the trailers, you could tell they don't have faith in it, because I distinctly remember in all the trailers, they marketed two things. The hoverboard, because, hey kids, look at him surfing in air. It looks amazing. Yeah, it does, but tell us about the story. I knew the story because I read Treasure Island a bunch as a kid. Kids Treasure Island is not like required reading, so you kind of at least have to lay out the basics for them. And the other thing that they beat over your head in trailers, which still annoys me to this day, was how much Martin Short's Ben character was in this movie. Even though he's only in the final third act of the movie once they actually get to Treasure Planet. They marketed Treasure Planet as a family-friendly kids comedy, which there's some comedic elements to Treasure Planet, but it is a swashbuckling adventure with a lot of deeper elements of the desire for a father figure, growing up into manhood, becoming the man you're supposed to be, responsibility. But they just kind of treated it like it was any other comedy of going, look at the funny robot man who kind of is like like C-3PO. Like, he's not actually a big factor. And when you go back and watch the original trailers, it's all, here's this wacky fun adventure with a cyborg for an eye who wants his treasure. It's like, you're misrepresenting the character of Long John Silver. He's a broken man, but there's still some good in him. It completely undermines the dynamic of the story if you market it as, here's this fun, lighthearted action movie, where in reality it was much better. But also they undersold the technical aspects of this movie. So a lot of the movies at the time, since this came out in 2002, we had already kind of phased over into the Pixar era. The Iron Giant had the exact same problem of 2D movies were not doing as well. However, Treasure Planet was revolutionary in that it was using hand-drawn, matte paintings, and CG. When he is surfing on that surfboard, which admittedly was cool in the trailers, but they relied on it too much, there's those three animation styles all together. Jim is hand-drawn, the rotating tire that he goes through is matte painting, and then the surfboard itself is CG. And they weaved it throughout the movie, and it's fantastic. But they're just like, oh yeah, it's just one of our regular movies because we don't care about 2D animated. Monsters, Inc. just came out for us last year, and it did gangbusters. So we don't care about 2D animated. And
what's even crazier is, so they develop all this style of animation, right, in Treasure Planet, and they just kind of brush Treasure Planet to the side and say, the 2D animation is not, it's not going to be a thing. And then make Tarzan 2D animated.
No, Tarzan was 99. Yeah, Tarzan came before Treasure Planet.
No, because they used the same technology. They literally... no, because that's what I read.
No, I thought Tarzan came first in 99. Because I remember they did have to do some CG for the vines when he was surfing.
Well, because that's what I vaguely remember them saying.
Because that was like the first rotoscoping, wasn't it? They used a lot of rotoscoping for Tarzan. So they didn't have to like animate it frame by frame. Which is why in the Tarzan marketing, they relied on that shot of him surfing so much and then turning to face the camera in a dramatic fashion. Because that was revolutionary animation for the time. But yeah, Treasure Planet, they didn't want to...
Oh, wait. Yeah, I know you're right. Dang it.
They didn't want to market it.
Not Dr. Josh anymore.
we don't acknowledge Josh. The problem with...
We don't acknowledge Josh anymore.
Treasure Planet, they didn't want to treat it like the mature movie it was. They did the same thing with Atlantis. However, I think Treasure Planet is a better movie than Atlantis. Both of these, I think, came out too late in terms of Disney was clearly moving on to their 3D animated stuff, which is why a lot of the 2D animated movies at the time, like Home on the Range, didn't do as well. But also, one, it didn't have the support of Disney, but two, Home on the Range is also pretty bad. Now, all those factors is not enough for this movie because it's still kicking, and Disney's trying to shove the pillow in its face even further just to kill this thing, just to shut up and go away. So Disney's had enough. They're going, fine, we'll release your movie, but we're going to screw you over. You're going to come out November 27th, 2002. And guess what? It debuts 4th opening weekend. It has to compete with 3 big, huge movies. Number 1 at the box office is James Bond's Die Another Day, which was already in its first or second weekend. Then, at number 2, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which is your exact same audience as Treasure Planet, came out 2 weeks earlier. Still going strong. Number 3, since it's November 27th, you have to have a Christmas movie playing. Opening November 27th, Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights, which of course is going to do well. Then Treasure Planet comes out. And then, because Disney is stupid and really hated Treasure Planet, they go, oh, we want you to go up against one of our own movies. The Santa Claus 2. A Christmas movie in the middle of Christmas time. We want you to go up against that movie because we have faith that you're going to succeed. Screw you, Disney. You let this movie out to die. Yeah. Any one of these movies, James Bond, Harry Potter, 8 Crazy Nights, Santa Claus 2, both being Christmas movies in prime Christmas season, any one of those movies could have destroyed the box office for Treasure Planet. But put all 4 of them in one weekend, this movie has no chance. Disney, what were you thinking? Make this a September movie or a March or an April movie. You clearly did not care about this when you released this movie. You just wanted to get it out and hope that no one noticed. And in reality, it had one of the best movies that no one talks about, all because Disney screwed them over royally.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people saw the situation they put Treasure Planet in and was like, there's no way that they did this thinking it was a good marketing move. They had to do this on purpose. That's the only way. And so, and unfortunately, yeah, I think we will never get a live-action Treasure Planet, even though I think nowadays that would do better than almost any movie out there.
Yeah. But, again,
it's really sad.
It's a matter of, if that were ever to happen, it would be Disney admitting, yes, we messed this up the first time. Because it was received incredibly well when it came out. It's still received very well. You still see a ton of people clamoring for this to get a live-action remake. It bombed because Disney made it bomb. It wasn't the film's fault. It had so much wrong with it. Of a studio that didn't want to get behind it, produced lackluster trailers on their behalf, and then release dates matter, people. Especially if you have too many things coming out at once. I remember we talked about in 2018 when Aquaman came out. There was Aquaman, Mary Poppins, Bumblebee, Into the Spider-Verse,
yeah.
And what we thought at the time was going to be a big deal with Holmes and Watson, the Will Ferrell movie, which was terrible. But we thought these movies are going to cannibalize each other, and to a certain extent, they did. If those movies were spaced out better, they would have made a lot more money. Aquaman still went on to make $1 billion, but it could have had stronger legs off the bat if it was just separated from the rest. Having too many movies on the same day will destroy your box office, and Disney knows this, but they just wanted to shut Musker and Clemens up and just go, yeah, just go back to what we tell you to make. And they're still, as far as I know, they're still with Disney, but Disney really did them dirty by how they decided to treat Treasure Planet. And I'm still salty, and I'll forever be salty about this because Disney had a great movie. They knew they had a good movie, and they didn't do anything with it. Yeah, Josh, any last closing thoughts from you on this?
No, I think something that I thought of a lot when reading all these stories, something my dad and I say all the time: words matter, or the lack of words matter. Like, how you present your film is going to be the key thing that puts
words matter.
Yeah, words matter, and we're gonna end it there because I can't talk today apparently. Oh my gosh.
Well, what do you guys think are some of the worst movie mistakes? Either like bad trailers that turned you away from the movie, decisions that were made before the movie even came out that tarnished your view of the movie. Let us know in the comments below. We always like hearing from you guys. And as always, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube at Uncharted Media. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.